it's indeed a pleasure to be part of this symposium. So just by looking at the lineup, I was like, wow. So there's like lot of intellectual people. So when Ashay told me that okay, this is a session that's happening, so I was like, okay, we people are probably working somewhere in the world, which we think that we know something, but when you come to such kind of a session, you really feel that there is so much to learn, so much to know more. So what I'll do is, since it's more of a session where I can share some elements from the ground what we are doing. Through this session, I'll be wearing the hat of a government representation, where I'm actually I'll rather come across as the Mumbai Fintech Hub. And the Fintech Officer for Government of Maharashtra, and with through those lens, I'll just mention what we are doing. And specifically, I have picked up fintech for agriculture because that's something we're heavily focused on at this point in time as we speak after COVID. This is an area that we actually have picked up, so it's very fresh with us. So I thought, why not share some ground feedback. How do we see it, rather how positive it is, but how even things can be looked at it in different way when it comes to fintech entrepreneurs and the other ecosystem, and what else can be done. So just to let the audience know who we are and who I am. So Mumbai Fintech Hub is the initiative by Government of Maharashtra to nurture the fintech ecosystem in the state. And this this whole initiative came to life 2.5 years back, primarily to focus on how the fintech ecosystem can be leveraged for larger benefits. So in one hand, we do actually support the fintech ecosystem in a very well-rounded perspective, specifically focusing on 5 key pillars. And I mean, through those, it's like it does include our access to capital pillar, through which we actually connect the fintech ecosystem with a larger investor pool. We have a global market access pillar, through which we actually connect various other countries and actually leverage on the global corridors on how the ecosystem can benefit from there. Then, of course, the talent pillar is one key one, where we really look at how the academic institutes can be brought more closer to the fintech ecosystem, because that's something that we have actually seen, that while the sector is growing at a fast speed, there is always there is a problem that we do not have the right kind of talent to support this fintech ecosystem in all space. So that's another key lever that we actually work on. The other lever that we focus on is promoting open innovation, and this is something is a key element for us, where we actually have created a API sandbox through which we are really looking at how we can co-host APIs from fintechs, financial institute, and we start adding the data APIs from government perspective, and which will actually lead to a lot of cross collaboration from new innovation experimentation standpoint. So the fifth pillar, that is actually a key pillar that we'll focus on, that's actually the catalyzing ecosystem pillar, and that's where we actually really look at how we can connect, how we can act as a catalyst when it comes to like fintech adoption in many areas. So I'll just expand on, just explain what I mean by that, and explicitly on that particular pillar, whatever is mentioned in this slide is what we do. So Maharashtra IT Corporation is actually the IT arm of Government of Maharashtra, and Mumbai Fintech Hub is the specific fintech vertical. So MahaIT and Mumbai Fintech Hub work very closely with all the departments. So at the core, what you see are various departments of Government of Maharashtra. So these are the departments who actually day in, day out work on multiple schemes. They keep on struggling on how do we do this for farmer, how do we do that for this SHGs, how do we reach out, and so on and so forth. So in this whole process, what typically a government department miss out on is while there are so many tasks to be done, I think they miss out on, okay, how can something extra be done to do something different, right? And that's where we come in picture, where we actually keep a tab on the overall fintech ecosystem, where who is doing something differently, what are those new innovation that is there in market, what are the possibility where a department can actually absorb these innovations and something interesting can be done and solve a bigger purpose. And that is where we actually try to connect. So if you see, like, let's pick up agriculture department from there. You actually see, like, in one hand we do have this fintechs on, whether it's a J Kisan or a Credible or a CDFI. So these are fintechs who are there in market, who are working in various areas, whether it is lending per se, or there are entities who are on, specific kind of different kind of financing that they're doing, or they're creating specific insurance products. But then on a day-to-day basis, government probably on a daily basis don't have time to really look at this technical innovation that has come through. Rather, they would more look at, like, which are those LDBs which are out there, who are ready to give away the loan. From a loan waiver scheme standpoint, there will be loan waivers that will be announced multiple times. But then that's where we work more as a connector, ensuring that the department sees these solutions, and then we do a hand holding in, in this whole process of integration and collaboration possibilities that can actually emerge out of it. So now, just going to the next slide, I'll just, put in a point here that how interesting the times are now. So we all know how fintechs are coming up. We have been seeing, very interesting movement in, from a payment standpoint, lending, wealth investment, insurance specifically. So while fintech is coming up very well, even from, good investments coming up, consumer base is growing, so on and so forth. Silently, the agri-tech space is moving forward very well. So whether it is, from a market linkage standpoint, a lot of digitization has been happening, a lot of, industry connect, FPO connects, FPO digitization, consumer connect. There are so many of these elements that are happening, and these, agri-tech startups that are coming up, and government's focus on agri. Or you add it up with digitization focus, there is a lot of data that is getting generated because of the agri push. Now, if you really look at it, fintech, whatever has happened so far, the persona that for a typical, larger portion of fintechs have taken is not a persona that in a normal agricultural sector that you can actually see. So the point that I'm trying to put here is, if we look at the right synergy between fintech and agri-tech, can it actually solve for the agricultural persona? So not a regular person who is earning XYZ as a salary, but somebody who is completely relied on agri. So what is that we can do differently so that various need of that persona can be solved? So let's take a agricultural persona. For Maharashtra, I've taken the name Tukaram. So Tukaram is the person for our discussion today. So if we actually have to imagine, what does Tukaram do? So Tukaram is a small holding farm labor, age 30, can't read and write, lives in a tier 3 city. Now, does Tukaram actually have access to all these fashionable fintechs that we talk about today? Probably no, maybe. We do say there are so many of DBT schemes that's been there. The Jandhan account is there. So many companies, including your Paytm and Razorpay, and there are so many companies are out there. So many people in the lending space are playing. But can we really say that Tukaram's needs are been met? Have we actually developed solutions keeping Tukaram in mind? So Tukaram does have financial literacy problem. Tukaram has no knowledge about what to do when it comes to whether he has to take a loan, or he has to do some savings for future, whether he has to ensure that he has to take an insurance so that if the crop is not bad, or if it is not good, or if there is no work, how to survive. Forget about savings for future, they actually struggle for a day-to-day living. So, and on top of it, I mean, as a farmer also, the farmer always look at Tukaram, always have that dream of his children also should go to school. There should be basic access to affordable health. Now, for doing all this, how Tukaram can do this? I mean, if we really have to look at it, there is absolutely no upliftment of overall agriculture is possible if we do not look at upliftment of Tukaram. So there can be multiple schemes which will go to the accounts, but we can actually elevate Tukaram only when we solve for Tukaram. And that is where I actually really believe that fintech entrepreneurs, I would rather say like the fintech entrepreneurs have started gradually looking at specific personas, are trying to create specific products, because that is the call of the hour, that we need to have very, very customized product for this particular persona, which is completely into the agriculture value chain. And that is how we can actually look at how Tukaram can be served. So for sure, this is like, no brainer, how opportunity for fintech is there to help Tukaram. It is, and it can only be technology solutions. Of course, the solutions could be like physical and not only digital, but it could be a combination of it. uh, Being in India, we actually have seen there are real good levers which is there, which will act help solving larger solutions, larger problems. And of course, the mobile penetration, the tech infrastructure that is already out there, the end-to-end digitization that is coming up, as we discussed from an agri-tech standpoint. The new, a lot of new tech stack adoption is happening in agriculture by government and private players, starting from like remote sensing to there are a lot of IoT usage of IoT, blockchain, cloud. And in government corridors also, you do see that there's a lot of adoption of these new age tech stack. And ultimately, all this is actually leading to a lot of data creation. uh, Government readiness to adopt innovative solution, of course, is one of the key levers. At least from a Maharashtra standpoint, I would say we I mean, we do see like good interest, and our readiness is also definitely out there. So we are starting with lot of such kind of technology solution adoption in this particular space. uh, so the how part, it's kind of very imperative that like how do we solve this. Yes, like we need to have the startup pathway. Specifically, I mentioned startup, it need not be a startup, but then I would say the new age tech solutions. And it need not have to be the conventional incumbents who have been there in the market, but it definitely has to be some new brains who needs to look at the problems in a much different fashion. uh, then another key element which is part of this implementation pathway would be a multi-stakeholder partnership pathway. And this is exactly what we stand for, and this is what exactly we practice, because this is something that cannot be done in silos, that one company comes through and sees a problem and try to solve it. But this is something where people actually partner, whether it is a fintech partnering with an incumbent fintech, partnering with government entities like us, or a fintech coming on board, partnering with a FPO, then taking NGOs help, helping them on board. So there are so many partnership that is possible, and then only this particular segment can be served in the best possible manner. The third element, of course, is there has to be top down mandate or policy driven pathways that has to be defined, which is very, very critical, because ultimately unless there is some specific kind of mandate to adopt some new kind of solutions, probably it will be difficult for a legacy infrastructure to just innovate by itself. So at least it's good to see that from a Government of India standpoint, there is enough and more such kind of policy mandate that has been created specifically from an agriculture sector, which does help even state governments to take it forward, and also define the right kind of KRAs specifically from a agri adoption standpoint. So that brings me to this particular slide, where we actually talk about what we are doing. So there are So I've just called out some specific areas where we actually have done some of the fintech partnerships. So Smart is this is not a fintech partnership, but Smart is actually agri department is working with World Bank. So this is a World Bank funded project, and this is the one where they are working on agri businesses and rural transformation piece. And this Smart team actually works very widely through us. They are very keen on working with the fintech ecosystem on multiple areas pertaining to pertaining to agriculture. So in this new age setup, this an organization like Smart is very very critical for technology adoptions. So the couple of other examples that I have listed here, specifically access to credit for farmer. So as the name suggests, the access to credit for farmer is like the very peculiar problem, because it's like there are many mandates that have been given to existing financial institutes to lend to farmer. But then in spite of all these mandates, ultimately farmer doesn't get the loan on time. So what happens if the farmer doesn't get the loan in time? So if it is for a particular crop, then they don't get the they don't get to put the fertilizer in time, or they're not able to do some specific elements that is needed from farming standpoint. And ultimately when the money comes, then probably that's been used in a completely different manner, which is of no benefit for the overall agricultural value chain. So uh, so to solve that, or rather ensure that it happens in a more transparent manner, more frictionless manner, and it happens more quickly. And that is where new age tech players come in very handy when it comes to disbursing loans to farmers. Plus there are I'll just pick up an example. So the government actually created a group farm loan scheme, where a group of 20 farmers, or 20 plus farmers, can actually come together and apply for a loan. And government actually has a scheme where we pay 80% and the bank has to pay 20% of it. But even in such kind of a scenario, when the group actually goes and applies in a bank, then the bank might not approve, even if a single farmer doesn't have the right credit score. So the whole group gets denied a loan. And government actually has seen that the whole of it is happening because larger financial institutes risk appetite is very very low. So if you just go and do a credit rating check on a farmer, probably the score that you will get is less for various reasons, or they are not there in the system. So there definitely is a need to look at how a farmer focused risk score can be calculated. And that is a pilot that the department is actually doing with one of the fintech players. If we can look at various data points that government has, and if this alternate data sets can be really looked at to assess the farmer in a different way. And of course take the basic credit bureau score that is there in there, but at least it will add to the overall risk assessment for the farmer. Similarly, access to credit can be so various bridge can be put through from between the FPOs and this new age solution. And through the FPOs, even the farmers can get access to this new age tech solutions, which can help them in getting access to the different lenders, and not a money lender or the regular LDBs. There is another use case here where Government of Maharashtra actually worked with a fintech called Will, and this is a digital warehouse receipt finance element where the warehousing corporation actually did pilot with this particular fintech. And as a outcome of that, as a outcome of the successful pilot, they actually got onboarded by the Maharashtra State Cooperative Bank on its platform, and the bank finally has committed a 2,000 crore of corpus of lending through warehouse receipt finance. So these are different kind of financing schemes which actually comes in very handy when it comes to farmers. So the last point, or the last point that I wanted to mention from an overall partnership standpoint is a data driven partnership. And when I'm saying data driven partnership, what we are trying to do is the API sandbox that we have. What we strongly believe that all the data sets that government is actually sitting on, if we can expose these data sets through various APIs, and we actually invite the new age fintech companies to come and experiment on top of this data set, and do it in the sandbox mode, and then we can take it to market. So this is something we have a continuous focus on. We are looking at whether a citizen service kind of data, health data, various DBT scheme data. We are looking at exposing it and really working with the fintech ecosystem, which can create various solutions for agriculture. So with that, I kind of come to and I'm not sure how much time I have, but
yeah, there is still.
there's still some time.
Yeah, you can take one more slide and then we take Q&A.
Sure. So
briefly, ma'am, briefly.
Sure. So this is just, I've just listed down some of the areas where currently there is we are exploring some more work between agriculture and fintech. So you will see even the lending insurance, the J Kisan or a Gram Cover or a Rangde kind of entities who can actually help give multiple different kind of lending products for farmers. There are price prediction entities like Credible, who actually have created price prediction tools, which is very critical from a crop insurance kind of standpoint. And they are they can work with various work with government and existing data set, and can help in predicting prices from specifically mandi standpoint and further. Similarly, from a traceability standpoint, FPO engagement standpoint, warehouse financing standpoint, so there are multiple areas and opportunities through which, fintechs can actually work in various agriculture use cases and take things to a next level. So that's the end of it. And any of you, if you want to reach out to us from a Mumbai Fintech Hub standpoint, we are available in all social media channels, and you can drop us a line at support@fintech@maharashtra.gov.in. Whether you're a student, you are a entrepreneur, you are somebody who wants to connect with us to work with the government department data, happy to connect with you. Thank you so much.